The Jesus Trilogy, Book 1, The Four Messiahs, Chapter 22. The word filtered around the town that week. Joseph told Barnabas and also some of his friends. Most people congratulated him, albeit in a reserved manner. His friends did know that he had been having a hard time since Rachel died, and they wished him well. He did receive a few cold shoulders and even some dirty looks, but generally he got through the week unscathed. Mary had gone home to her mother's the next day to get a few of their things. Joseph could pick up the rest later. Sarah was so happy to see her. She hadn't told anyone until that week. She didn't care what people thought. She was going to be a grandmother, and the grandmother of the Messiah, no less. Mary again warned her to keep it a secret and again made her mother swear on the family Bible. They talked for hours, it seemed, something they had never done before. Sarah decided that next week she would head up to see her new little nephew, Johnny. Mary had told her that the baby wasn't really so little, 8 pounds, 8 ounces at birth, and now almost twice that. Sarah was eager to go. Church that weekend was a plus-minus experience. The day was extraordinarily warm, 98 degrees by 11 a.m. Priest Avenor gave an excellent sermon, but as he opened the service, he first chose to announce, "I'd like to welcome a new family to our church today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to our church Joseph and Mary. They were married April 8th. There were mixed feelings among the parishioners. They did give the newlyweds a round of applause. Rachel stood in the pew and clapped the loudest of all. In fact, she continued to clap even after everyone else had stopped. "You may be seated now," Priest Avenor said, staring straight at poor little Rachel. She quickly sat down, not understanding the stifling of her joy. Mary hugged her. The congregation all liked Mary and Joseph. They just weren't sure they liked the fact that the two had gotten together and had a baby out of wedlock. Mary so wished that she could just stand up and tell them all that her baby was going to be. He was going to be the Messiah, and how this conception was a miracle. She almost did, but then realized that no one would believe her anyway. She, Joseph, Sarah, and Zacharias and Elizabeth, only 5 people in all Israel, actually 5 people in all the world, knew what was to be her secret. That was 3 fewer than went into the ark of Noah. She took Joseph's hand and held it for the rest of the service, feeling secure and safe. And one added plus was that they could show affection, not caring about being carried away with their now strong physical attraction. Mary did hear after the service of Joanna's bust. Joanna was back in school and Gloria was more than pleasant. Mary knew why, but she liked Gloria anyway. Gloria had always been nice to her even before all the recent events. She would keep Gloria's secret, and she knew Gloria knew she would. They both were on the social edge. "Those filthy, rotten Romans," Gadara said. "I hate 'em, every last lousy one of 'em," Tara chimed in. "What are you going to do about it, Chief?" Omar asked from across the room. "They slaughtered all our best soldiers." "Well, we've been recruiting all week," Pharaoh said. He really wasn't an Egyptian, but he had been a warrior on the Egyptian coast as a mercenary during an uprising in Alexandria. He'd actually killed one of the peasant farmers, hence he was called Pharaoh, or Ro for short. "That slaughter at Magdala was a fluke. I'd like to take that Colonel Saul out. That would show him." Omar was livid. "No, boys, we gotta kill more than one man at a time, or we'll never win this war." Tara shook his head. "What then, Chief?" Gadara asked. "How many we got now?" Tara put in. "I'm guessing 240 or maybe 250, Gadara estimated. "Not nearly enough," Tara said. "We lost 60 good men in that ambush. We need to return the favor. Get our name in the paper like that murderer Saul," Rose said. "He could have taken those boys prisoner. He didn't have to kill them," Omar said angrily. "They're probably better off. I hear the Hebrew officers of Herod are the cruelest of all," Ro added, "even more vicious than the Romans." "They like to make examples," Tara added. Uz now piped up. "I'll make an example of Colonel Saul. I'll drive that purple cross right through his skull. Laughter ensued. They were in the back room of Uzziah's shop. The room was upstairs behind a large area where cartons were stored. The man had placed a lookout on the street to warn of Roman or Hebrew patrols. The nights were getting cooler. October was nearly over, and although it had been several months ago, the massacre at Magdala was still fresh in everyone's mind. They were now in the process of recruiting and rebuilding their forces back up for another assault. They had not yet made any formal plans as to when or where such an event would take place, but they knew it would happen. The organization was called 6 Points, 1 point for each corner of the Hebrew star. There were 6 so-called commanders. Abel was missing that night. He was their real leader. The group's latest task was stockpiling weapons, which were kept in this upper storage room in cases marked with bogus names. We got weapons for everyone, Omar asked. I'd say about 150 weapons, Uz calculated. That should be enough. 150 on the front line, then when some go down, the reserves can pick up the ones left lying. War is awful, Terah said under his breath. Where is the Messiah? Omar wondered. The scripture says that when times get really bad, the Messiah will come and deliver us. Time of trouble such as never was, isn't that right? Omar said, quoting the scroll. He was an ex-priest. The temple priests had said he was too violent, and they expelled him from the priesthood a few years earlier. Boy, I wish that Messiah would show up soon. He'll slaughter those Roman barbarians, Gadara said wishfully. Then we'll be in power, Ro said. Abel is the Messiah, Uz declared solemnly. I guess so, Omar said, but neither he nor anyone else in the room believed it. Patrol coming, the sentry, a 16-year-old kid, called from downstairs. They quickly dimmed the light and everyone sat in silence. About 2 minutes later, the sentry called out, They're gone. What took them so long? Terah asked. They stopped in front of the lamppost. They were telling a joke. Better call it a night, Terah said. Each one saluted him as one by one they filed out into the cool night air. Same time next week, Abel should be back. I think he was having a kid or something, Terah finished. Maybe he's the new Messiah, Uz ventured as they left. Maybe, Terah thought.